Welcome to my new video. This video is a little longer of the previous ones, because there's so much to cover and to show in this photo mosaic. This is Sol 1314. The image is a composition of several photos of the same area, stitched together by my dear friend and fellow researcher, Neil Spence, one of the most brilliant and very talented gigapan makers of our community. This video is made of two parts. In the first part, I will show you what and how NASA alter these images, and hide many important things that will show that Mars was not a dead and barren planet for millions of years. In the second part, I am presenting you clear evidence that there were biological life, and more evidence of artifacts, machinery and remains of an advanced civilization, wiped out by a powerful destructive event. Let's start this presentation showing how much debris of any kind was camouflaged as sand, or made to appear as rocks. As have you seen in the previous panoramic photos of this area, even with the best enhancements, what you are seeing in these enhanced photos was cleverly camouflaged. Many have asked me how I can reveal all of these. To obtain these results, I use a very tedious process. After the whole photo is enhanced and resized, I start to look for lines, shapes, and angles that do not look natural. After I spot them, I use a selecting tool in my software programs to select the anomaly. After I've selected it, I apply several adjustment filters to remove the excessive light or colors that masquerade the object or objects. And what you see now here is the result. Everything in this photo, as in many others, was covered by increasing the light and reducing the contrast, filtering everything with using an orange color filter, making everything uniform and indistinguishable. As the camera pan around these uncovered details, we can see many different colors of objects, that perhaps are showing the real colors of their composition. All of these was completely obfuscated by the wizardry of NASA ROCKSHOP artists. The reason I claim this, is that these images from Mars are released months after they arrive. We are now giving a closer look at some of these uncovered objects. Unfortunately, what this debris and objects are, it is not easy to figure out what they might really be. The process of revealing what was hiding in the fake sand and rocks can only show the colors and shape of these objects. For many of them, we can only guess what they might be, but definitely they were not sand or rocks. Nevertheless, proof of something that was here and it was destroyed. To me, a lot of this debris and objects seems to be the remains of vehicles, machines and perhaps aircraft of some sorts. However, we can also see that something else reminds the ruins of statues and buildings. This one, in particular, emerged as you see it from the fake sand, and as you can see it seems something big and manufactured. It is a machine? Or a building? I am showing some other enlarged area of this vast hidden debris field. As I said, it's very difficult to make out what all of these are. I understand that these photos need to be analyzed with more attention and for a longer period to understand what we are looking at. This video is allowing me to show and explain all the findings in this photo, but obviously, the images move too fast for you to understand what are you seeing. Therefore, I will make these enhanced photos available in my Facebook group. Perhaps you can download them and study for yourself. The link to my group is the description of this video. If you look carefully, you may see objects that resemble crafts of some sorts, like this one. As we pan around this debris field, we can see some shapes that perhaps remind of machines or structures, and many other familiar shapes. One in particular, as the previous one, is quite large and can be either a large machine or the ruins of a building. Moving along the slopes of this hill, we see objects and remains of a structure that follow precise straight lines and reminds of some parametric wall belonging to a structure. You don't need to use a lot of imagination to realize that these straight lines of apparent rocks cannot be natural. They seem more the remains of structures and/or of machines. One in particular, as you see, has a triangular shape with something that resembles a cockpit of a flying craft. What it seems rocks formation of the hill. After a closer look and the enhancement, they look more as if they are the ruins and debris of something that collapsed on itself after a catastrophic event blew it into pieces and melted by very high heat. For those of you who follow my videos, you know that I believe, especially after all the evidence I found in these photos, that Mars was turned into what we see today by something extremely powerful, an extinction event catastrophe that took place, perhaps, hundreds of thousands of years ago, transforming the planet in the apparent red rock we see today. Now, we have moved to the second part of this video. We will be looking at all the evidence of Mars' past biological life and the remains of a civilization. We are exploring the hill in the foreground, which was my initial research area. This hill has so much proof of what I am claiming, that I hope after you watch this presentation will convince you too. But, also there's so much more to uncover, that perhaps I will return to it in a later time. This hill is part of the Pahrump Hills area, in the Gale crater, at the foot of Mount Sharp. I have already researched on many occasions other areas of these hills and posted photos of any type of findings. These hills are a smoking gun and a gold mine of evidence, for anyone who wants to know who and what might have lived on Mars, and what they have created, before the extinction level event took place. As you will see, on this hill quite a few anomalies are very hard to discard as rocks, tricks of nature or light, or the products of eons of wind erosion. They are most likely what they seem to look like: remains of biological life, skulls and bones of humanoids and fish or reptile type of animals. It was not too difficult to uncover this very apparent skeleton of some type of reptile or an aquatic animal. It's visible even in the raw image. Strange that until now no one noticed it. His presence here as for other similar findings on this hill makes sense, since NASA believes that Gale crater had a lot of water. Laying next to this skeleton, we cannot notice some apparent rocks that resemble very much a humanoid skull half buried in the sand. The size and the two eye sockets are unmistakable. Also, just underneath the reptile skull, on the edge of this slope, something sticks out that also can be bones or parts of a skeleton. Whatever they are, definitely they are not rocks. On this slope, we can see several other so-called anomalies resembling skulls of animals and humanoids. Here we can see something that seems the skull of a dinosaur type of animal. In this other shot, we can see another apparent humanoid skull. This one is just above the previous one and with something next to it that could be a pile of bones. But, bones and skulls are not the only things we can find on this hill. As you see, also other anomalies resembling familiar objects, like this one that reminds an old tow truck. Is it a real truck, or just pareidolia. All over around, we can find and see many other unnatural objects that can be either mechanical parts or ruins of artificially made artifacts, or both. What is your opinion? We have now moved on the top of this hill. It's apparent that here, there is a lot of unnatural objects that have only the appearance of rocks, but they are not. As seen previously here also there is a mix of metallic objects, perhaps parts of mechanical devices, and more bones of a possible reptile. Looking at it a little closer, we can see that this anomaly has the shape of a fishbone spine. Is it just a coincidence? What do you think this is? What is this? A boxed metallic artifact with two objects sticking out like little arms? These are not rocks, but they are most likely molten metals. Once again, proving my theory of Mars being struck by a powerful event that produced extreme heat and temperatures. Here's something almost impossible to be natural, a wheel-shaped metallic object, next to other apparent metallic artifacts. Another coincidence? The evidence of Mars' past life and civilization keeps emerging from NASA attempts to hide the truth. As we move along this ridge and follow the slope, more and more pieces of evidence come to the light. Here, we cannot avoid seeing the strange markings of this stone, or, perhaps, a large piece of metal, a part of something much larger. Furthermore, if we look carefully, we can see the forms of objects reminiscent of box-shaped metal structures. Moreover, as you can see there is more than one. What could they have belonged to? Here, we can see something that looks like an oval object, resembling the head of a statue or something like that. Let's give a closer look at these objects. None of them seems to be a natural creation, but rather the creations of intelligent beings and later destroyed by either their own foolishness or by a natural disaster. These objects cannot be natural. Their shapes are too precise and geometric to be simple stones. Moreover, we can see that other apparent metallic objects sprout out of them. This hill is a real source of surprises, and evidence that Mars was not uninhabited and devoid of life forms as we see it today. Here there is clear evidence that both animals and humanoids have lived side by side. Previously, we have seen the skeleton and the skull of an animal that resembles a reptile or some aquatic species, next to what seems to appear humanoid skulls. On this slope, instead we can see a large and apparent fossilized head of a large animal, vaguely reminiscent of our whale. All over around this head there is scattered and piled up the debris of what could easily be the rest of the body of this animal. And what are these debris? Without any scientific knowledge, we can see that they cannot be natural, but more likely the remains of either a biological life or artificial objects. What's your opinion? As we have already seen in different areas of this hill, here too, we can spot one more artifact that has all the characteristics of another large animal skull. Is this fossil belonging to an aquatic species? Or to a land animal? It's hard to say. But We can tell by how the artifacts are placed on the terrain that this could easily be the fishbone of some aquatic species. Deciphering or understanding what this debris can be is quite difficult. But, after what we have seen so far, it would be not too far-fetched to imagine that what we are seeing is most likely an intricate mixture of fossilized remains of some type of animals, and the ruins of who knows what kind of machineries or structures. The only way to know what they could be, it would be to see them up close in a clear and undoctored picture, or to see them in real life. For the moment, we must be content with just speculating about their nature. But, even so, among all these wrecks, twisted and melted metals, one can see shapes that recall possible vehicles, flying machines, and tubular structures and much more. However, I leave up to you to speculate what all of this can be. As I said, I will put all these photos in my Facebook group for anyone who wants to do their own research. This photo, as we have seen so far, contains both the proof that NASA obfuscates and manipulates these photos coming from Mars, but also, and above all, the evidence of a past civilization that was once on this planet, with thousands of pieces of evidence that we can see among this rubble and debris, and the evidence that strange and large animals, either aquatic or of land, coexisted with the now extinct inhabitants of this planet. The last detail of this photo is perhaps the most mysterious and a true enigma. Apart from the various objects that can be seen in this heap of ruins and rubble, something really unexpected appears between them. A Christian cross. Its shape is unmistakable, and I challenge any skeptic or troll to claim otherwise, or saying that it is just pareidolia, that it is a trick of the light, or worse yet, it is a geological formation. At this point, the mandatory question is, what is this cross doing here? Between these ruins and on Mars, who put it there? A true enigma, isn't? Who will be able to solve it? I encourage you to write your opinion in the comments below, both about the video in its entirety, or about this last enigmatic finding. This video ends here, but not my research to reveal the truth about Mars's past, muddled by those who don't want us to know the truth. Thank you for watching.